Right, so League One promotion playoff final, two teams from London getting to face off in Wembley. On one side, you had Charlton Athletic, who won this very same game in 2019, spent 1 year in the championship, immediately got relegated, and then have spent the last 5 years back in League One. So this was their chance to finally book their place back in the championship after a decently long absence from the second tier. On the other side, you had Leyton Orient, who have quite a lot of history in the English game, but have not done quite as well recently. They were in League Two not very long ago. They got promoted, I think, only 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden they're here. I actually saw a Leyton Orient game early on in this season. I saw them play the Arsenal under-21s in the EFL Trophy. They didn't look very good in that game. I don't know if they played their full squad or not, in all fairness, but they weren't very good in that game. They had more of the possession, but they couldn't get a goal. Their goalkeeper was called off his line twice, which is where Arsenal scored two goals. It was 2-1. They had a chance to equalize right at the end and skied a penalty over the bar. All along, a very poor performance from Leyton Orient, and at that point in the season, they'd also lost their first 4 games in League One. So I had assumed at that time that it was going to be a very long season for Leyton Orient fans, and that they probably were going to go back down. But instead, they have massively shot up the table. 2 extended winning runs have seen them get 2-6, including one right at the end of the season. They really came together at the perfect time at the end to make sure they secured a playoff spot. And so they did end up earning their place here. Considering how badly they started this season, that really is an impressive way to get back. So all credit to Leyton Orient for even being in this game, because that is a very tough start, and it's quite commendable that they managed to get here. The game itself was probably not the most exciting thing ever. For the most part, neither team were that effective at breaking past the other's defense. In fact, according to at least the stat app that I use, there were 0 big chances created in this game from either team, which is decently rare. It just wasn't the most exciting of games. And so, if any goal was going to come, it probably was going to come off something like a free kick or a long shot. In the end, it was Gillespie from Charlton Athletic who managed to break it. And it was a really nice curled effort. A beautiful shot. I do think the Leyton Orient wall was positioned a bit too far to the right. It allowed Gillespie to curl the ball around them maybe easier than he should have done, but that shouldn't take anything away from how impressive of a finish it was. But that was, again, that was how a goal was going to be scored in this match, because it wasn't looking likely one was going to be scored from open play. And so at halftime, Charlton found themselves in a pretty similar situation to where Sheffield United were last match, or the championship final, where they have a lead, they haven't been threatened too much, and so they don't necessarily need to score, they just need to hold on to the lead that they do have, and they did that well. Leyton Orient, again, struggled to create chances. There were a few minutes where they looked decently threatening. They decided to kind of resort to long shots because that was the only way they were really getting opportunities at the goal, and it worked pretty well. A few times they nearly struck the goal, but it wasn't quite meant to be. They did a stat right at the end that showed that there had been 5 goals scored between these two teams in their 3 previous meetings after 90 minutes. So that was pretty exciting, especially with 11 minutes added on, but it wasn't meant to be. It ended up being a 1-0 win. Not the prettiest game ever, but more than enough for Charlton. I'm sure they won't be complaining. They're back in the championship now, and of course it's going to be difficult. It always is for promoted teams, but unlike in the Premier League, promoted teams actually have a hope of staying up. I do hope Charlton stays up because I do quite like the club. It'd be nice to see them get at least a few years in the championship and see what they can do from there. I doubt Leyton Orient fans are going to be that upset with how the season went. I think, again, the fact that they were in this game is an achievement in itself. Maybe not the result they wanted at the end of the season, but I think they'll still be reasonably happy with how it all went. But the Addicts are back in the championship, and I was going to be happy regardless of who won, but that's cool for Charlton Athletic, and I do genuinely hope that they have a long stay there and could maybe even get promoted to the Premier League sometime.